So welcome everybody. What we're going to do now is give you a competitor's eye view of the course. Of course we don't have any sheep or dogs with us now, but I'm walking out to the casting peg, which is just in front of me here, and there's a circle that the competitor stands in. So you can see straight up the ground in the middle of the high pro banners there's a blue sign, and the sheep are getting let out just at that sign. So what you want to see when the sheep are coming down for your perfect points is the sheep come down in a straight line. So if they're over to the left or to the right a little bit, I still want the sheep to come to me in that nice straight line. And just around me here there are some markers that are 9 meters away. So for that perfect run again, as the sheep come to me in a straight line, they'll be within that 9 meter arc around me, and they must come down my left hand side of the casting peg around the back, and just directly behind me there's a 9 meter marker called the balance point. The sheep must cross that line between the casting peg and the balance marker to be considered delivered, and then I can get on my way. So if you imagine the sheep have come down in that nice straight line, they've come around and they're delivered. So the next thing that I want to do is get the sheep settled in a nice area on my right hand side. So as they come around behind me, I might bring my dog in a clockwise direction to hold them up, because it seems today there's a lot of weight with the sheep wanting to run back towards their mates. So let's just pretend that I've got the sheep in a nice spot on my right hand side, and the next thing that I must do as the competitor is leave the casting peg on my left. If I walk around this side of the casting peg, I'll get called back, penalised 7 points, and now I'm wasting time on my run as well. So I'm going to leave the casting peg on the correct side, and we're going to go down the first Australian carry. So as we're walking down, ideal points would be the sheep are here all the time. If they go outside those markers to my right, to the left, that's going to cost me a point or more depending how far away they run. Every 9 meters they run away, that's another point. So as I'm walking, I've got to maintain a steady pace. If I stop, I'll get a point. If I slow down, I'll get pointed as well. While I'm walking down this first carry, I want the sheep within 9 meters in that great semicircle on my right, and then I'll be keeping all my points. And you can see up ahead over my shoulder, there's the gap that we're walking to. So on my left is the let out where the rest of the mob of the sheep are, and that is a bit of a draw for the sheep to run to. So depending what the sheep are doing, I may need to put my dog on the left to help block that drive for the sheep to want to go back down to their mates in the let out yard. So this first section of the course is called the Australian carry to the gap. So the sheep on my right hand side, all I'm allowed to do is give commands to my dog, and the dog has to do all the work. So now we're coming up to the gap, and just in front of me is what we call the set. It's a ring on the ground that I've got to stand in while I'm working the sheep. And so the sheep now have to go through this obstacle. And again, for perfect points, I've probably pulled the sheep up just in front of the obstacle. Just let them have a bit of a look before I start trying to force them through, because then we'll start a confrontation, potentially. So this next section we're going to go to is the first New Zealand drive section. So once the sheep go through the obstacle, I then proceed through the obstacle as well. And on the drive, the perfect drive, would like to have a triangle with the sheep in front, myself and the dog taking up a side at the rear and driving the sheep forward. So sheep have cleared the obstacle and they've gone through, so now I must walk through the gap as well. And now I get the opportunity to decide if I want to walk on the left of the course or the right of the course. I'm going to take up a left-hand position. I'm going to get my dog to hold the sheep, hold the weight on the right, because that's where that let-out yard is again, and there is a draw for the sheep to want to go back there, so the dog can cover that a lot quicker than what I can. So now we're on the drive section. We'll say the sheep are out in front. I can move around the course, left or right, if I need to. If the sheep break away to my left, bring my dog around or head the sheep to pull them up. That'll cost us a point and off course points. But let's just pretend it's a perfect run for the time being. If the sheep slow down or stop, I can stop as well. If I take a step back, that's going to be a costly error on my behalf and cost me points from the judge. So moving forward, I'm covering my side. I can use my arms, I can crouch down, I can stand up tall. We want to keep on this part of the course now. It's what we call a 15-metre course. So these markers are 15 metres apart lengthways and widthwise. So it's a 15-metre box. So what we want to do is keep the sheep within 15 metres in front of me. If they go further ahead than 15 metres, it'll cost a point. But the other thing as well is I can change my pace on this section. So if the sheep are starting to get away from me, I can catch up to the sheep as well. So moving up, a perfect run would be aiming for the middle of the corridor towards the Maltese cross. And you can see a marker just where those peewees are on the ground. That's what we want to aim for. Those three blue markers are what we call the beginning of the free work area. So once all three sheep have entered that spot, I can now enter that as well and then begin work on the obstacle. So I'm coming up to the line, one of the sheep have paused, so I'll wait for that sheep to go in. I might walk towards it to help encourage it in, or bring my dog in to get that last sheep in. Now it's in, I can step across the line and I can move anywhere within this part of this free work area marked by the blue markers. One important thing to note is the handlers can't go past this panel here. So my work area is here and the same on the other side. So the dog and myself can change sides without loss of points. So what we want the sheep to do is to enter the obstacle and go straight through and exit on the other side. And then the next part of the Maltese cross is entering from my right hand side. So the sheep have gone through, and now I'll send my dog right or left, what I think's appropriate, and bring the sheep back around to this entrance of the obstacle, because we're going to be heading down towards the bridge next. So the same applies here. I can't go past that panel. Working the sheep, helping the dog, trying to cover my side, the dog's covering their side, and enter the obstacle. The challenge with this obstacle as well, of course, is that first part we just did, the sheep can run out that side if they choose to, so the dog and I need to cover that. So I can come right up here without putting my arms over the obstacle, try and keep those sheep heading out towards the exit second half of that Maltese cross. So when the sheep exit the obstacle, we need to get on the second part of the New Zealand section. So once those sheep have crossed this line marked by these two blue and the one orange marker out to the right, the sheep have entered that next drive section, and now I can take up position as well. Before taking off, I can decide if I think I need to go to the right or to the left of the. So this part of the course is similar to what we just walked from the gap to the cross, except now that we're heading towards the bridge. So same thing again. If I need to stop, I can stop. What you want to have happen on the drive section is one of the three parts must keep moving, or I can stop my dog, I can put a little bit of weight on the sheep, or if the sheep are moving and I want to take a bit of pressure off, I can stop my dog and let the sheep just walk forward quietly. So we'll just say that this drive section's been perfect, so no loss of points. Again, it's a 15-metre course, so there's 15-metre boxes coming up, and you can see the blue markers again. That's the free work line, or beginning of the free work area. So once all three sheep have entered the free work area, I'm then allowed to proceed forward into there as well. And now again, the dog and I can cross over without loss of points. If I think it's better for me to take up position on this side of the bridge, I can. Get my dog to cover their side, and we try and work the sheep up the bridge. The sheep go up the bridge. Once they complete that obstacle, that's the end of this New Zealand section, and then we're on the Australian section. So one of the important things for the competitors is that once they start walking, they can't stop. So you might see some competitors stationary at some point whilst just getting the sheep in a good position before they take off for that Australian carry. So moving on to the Australian carry up to the pen now. So it's similar to the first carry to the gap. There's a straight line in front of me that I must walk up, and for perfect points I want to carry the sheep on my right hand side. So it does pay to set your sheep up before you walk off so they're in a good position near you. So you can see walking up the hill, it's a little way to go. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lots of 9 metre blocks walking up to the pen. The sheep break out to the right or break out to the left, it'll cost me a point. And like we said before, depending how far they go in 9 metre blocks away from the course, it'll be another point and another point. So you can see as well, looking at the flags, there's a fair bit of wind. You might even hear a bit of the wind on the microphone. First couple of runs of the morning was a little bit more still, but once the wind picked up, the sheep just changed a little bit. And moving into this afternoon, there's a bit of cloud coming over as well over our shoulders. So it may or may not rain this afternoon, but we'll have to wait and see. So getting closer to the pen, it's the same as the gap. There's a ring that I have to step in, complete the obstacle to finish my walk before I finish the course by closing the gate on the pen. So coming up to the pen, there is a bit of a gap between myself and the edge of the gate, and like's happened today and lots of other dog trials, if the sheep get a little sniff through this gap, sometimes they'll run through, and that'll cost us a point or more. And when the sheep come to the obstacle, before I'm allowed to close the gate, where this gate closes, that imaginary line that runs across the ground, all 3 sheep have to cross that before I can close the gate. So I'll be watching the sheep, working my dog to get the sheep in over that line before I make a decision to close the gate. And you might see some competitors just pause for a moment with their dog out there holding the sheep in the pen, because they just want to know before they go to close the gate that the sheep are settled. Because once I start to close the gate, if a sheep runs out, I've only got that time that it takes me to close the gate to get that sheep back in. I can't stop walking. So the sheep are in the pen, they cross the line, so I've decided to go. This gate has a wheel on it, so it makes it a little bit easier for the competitors to close. Got my dog covering the gap, and the trial's over. So hopefully that might give you a bit of an insight to what the competitors see, and we'll be starting round 2 for the Ted Gaby Challenge at 1:30 this afternoon.